Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ok Xoomer Zoom interviews with creative engineers and more. I'm your host, Aaron Lichtig, Xometry guy and former Jeopardy champion, and I'm here today with Carlo Cruz. Carlo is a senior engineer in the Tilt Lab at Toyota in North America. Now, the Tilt Lab, we'll learn more about this, but it sounds really cool. They solve manufacturing problems using rapid prototyping and proofs of concept. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Carlo is also a fascinating guy outside of work. He is on the board of directors at the Desi Dance Network, which is a South Asian dance community of artists, creators, and dancers, which is pretty cool. And he's also a kickboxing coach and a powerlifter, so not a guy you want to mess with. Carlo, welcome. It's great to have you on OK Xoomer.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So first, tell us about your work with Toyota in the Tilt Lab, and also explain that name, the Tilt Lab.
Yeah, I think the number one question we get when we talk about the lab and Tilt Lab specifically is, what does TILT stand for? TILT is actually just a way to think about what happens when we show people new technology or a new way to do something. You kind of tilt your head and you're like, huh, that is different. So it isn't an acronym. It's not an official acronym. We came up with the name a number of years ago when the lab launched, but we are a tech shop or maker space that sits in the headquarter office for Toyota Production Engineering, and we help accelerate new ideas. We help try to understand what manufacturing problems are today and how to develop strategies to solve those in the future. It's a really exciting place. I do everything from working with adaptive robotics to machine learning and AI, to just, run-of-the-mill stuff, 3D printing, laser cutting, building stuff day to day.
Cool. So how did you get into this line of work at Toyota?
Yeah, I started as a cooperative education student back in 2012. So I've been with Toyota about 8 years now. As a cooperative education student, I was there full time in the paint engineering group, and I learned a lot about the lean manufacturing process, how to develop equipment, how to work with contractors and design new structures. It was a really interesting look into something I never expected to do. I eventually transitioned to this new technology role, mostly out of passion. I was really excited about where collaborative robots were going, what was going on in the field of machine learning and AI. Our executives had a lot of really good foresight into the future, and they enabled us to build this lab building in the middle of our new headquarter office in Georgetown, Kentucky, and that's really what's helped propel us forward. So really the genesis was my cooperative education background. I was a chemical engineering student at the University of Cincinnati. In my 5th year, I also received my master's in business administration. So I've kind of blended the world of R&D, business thinking, process engineering into this role that we've been working on today, up to today, in new technology development and study.
So what excites you most about your work and Toyota's work in general, looking out over the next year, 3 years, 5 years?
I think the most exciting thing about being in manufacturing and engineering is seeing the landscape evolve in real time. When you're in school, and I think when you're looking around consumer technology landscape, it's evolving every year. You get a new phone every year. There's new computer technology. There's new applications that you see. It's like almost daily. You can track this type of thing. What is really exciting is that that's not the paradigm in manufacturing. I think if anyone watching this is a co-op student now or interned at a company, you look at classic manufacturing and you think, wow, this is an industry that remains unchanged. And I think we're at the precipice of seeing massive shifts and changes in manufacturing beyond just being buzzwords out in industry. So I think that's really exciting for me to be able to look at and help shape, specifically for Toyota and for the collaborators we work with that are eventually going to work in other parallel industries. I think it's a super exciting time to look at how new technology has evolved and how it's going to revolutionize manufacturing in the future.
Awesome. Now, COVID-19 has affected a lot of industries, including the auto industry. How has that changed you and your team's work?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have a physical lab down in Georgetown, Kentucky. It's been an interesting cultural shift, I think, number one, we went remote for a number of weeks, and that's been an interesting blend of work styles. I think when you look at generational work and how people typically collaborate in a manufacturing environment, it's on the floor, it's face to face, it's looking at a problem and trying to understand it. And now we've shifted to a new paradigm of being able to collaborate remotely, use Microsoft Teams, shoot more videos, even exploring things like mixed reality through the Microsoft HoloLens, and looking at how do we go somewhere without going or minimize the number of people that have to go. One of the things that we're, I think, also really excited about is telepresence robotics, being able to send essentially a camera with wheels out to the floor and look around. I think that's something that's really exciting that we've tried to help look at with our group. But really, it's that culture shift that's really, really interesting. There's a recent news article about this where Akio Toyoda talks about our core philosophy is Genshi Genbutsu, which means to go and see, to actually look at the problem, be on site, and try to feel the tangible issue at hand. But when you look at what has happened in the pandemic, we start to try to evolve what Genshi Genbutsu really means. And I think we're really going to start pushing the limits of what's possible through remote go and see, what's possible through additional robotics or additional connected systems. I think that the true value of the Internet of Things, for a buzzword for everyone, is really going to come, it's really going to prove out its value proposition here. The Internet of Things is going to have value, I think, when you start to look at remote diagnostics, remote troubleshooting, and going and see just in the digital environment.
Well, we have a special guest who is joining us today. This is my son.
Hey.
Say hi.
Hi.
All right. Well, Carlo, thank you so much for joining us on OK Zoomer. We really appreciate it. It's been great talking with you. And everybody who's out there watching, we'll be back with another episode in a couple of days. Thanks. Say goodbye, Alex.
Bye, Alex. Byron. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.